We read books about studying other people. We focus on how to read people, persuade people, and influence them. You know, that whole sales thing that goes on. And that is certainly a lot of value. But imagine if you were to spend as much time studying something far more important. Studying others gives us knowledge, but studying yourself ultimately leads to an incredible amount of freedom. The key is that studying yourself helps you reach self-acceptance, which liberates you from self-judgment. So important. Instead of beating yourself up all the time, you learn to accept yourself. And as I did, and as we have, we realize that what we thought were shortcomings can actually be assets. So in the Mindset Matters program, in the Shift program, what we're going to do is continue to remind you that the most important persons to study is the only person you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And that, my dear listeners, is you. And that is why Steffany and I invest in ourselves. It's why we actually have launched our Shift program again, setting honest intentions for transformation. So that's the opening to this particular podcast, is about examining and self-examination, about self-reflection, about looking at where you're at in your business, in your life, career, what is next for you, and are you in a position where you actually have been investing in yourself? We've talked a lot about what's been going on the past 3 or 4 years. And so here we are today. So after that long-winded opening, I hopefully gave a little bit of context to this conversation today. What do you want to add?
Well, that's great. I appreciate that, because it creates the foundation, and I think it stimulates my thought process and really getting into the why, somebody would want to do some work with us, whether it's Shift or carrying on with the Mindset Matters. Moving forward, we're really going to invest in Shift. I think it's going to spin off a couple of other really cool ideas. I don't want to give it away right now, but whether it's couples, whether it's men's work, etc. We haven't really dug into it, but I think there's so much there that we can use the context of Shift, of setting honest intentions for transformation. And people will step in where they're comfortable. Whether it's a price point, whether there's some value there, something maybe you said or I said kind of triggered something, it has to feel right. And I know for me, when I'm choosing a coach or I'm choosing a coaching program, it has to feel right. And feel right doesn't mean everything's flowing. It means that there's something there that I can't let go. It's something like it grips me and I go, I need to dig into this. I need to look into it a little bit deeper. I really get that Patrick and Steffany are authentic. I mean, that's what I really got in Fort Lauderdale at the Vault with Patrick Bet-David and his team, is that we really bring a lot of value. And I mean, I'm not like pumping our tires and stuff to the point where, come and hang out with us because we're awesome. But it was humbling just how much we know. We were probably the seniors in that room, so to speak. Few people older, many younger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you make a good point. We were probably, in terms of a group of 3,000, and by the way, it was kind of layers of points of entry. So we happened to enter the game at the highest level, which we were in a group, what they called CEOs. And within that group, there was probably a couple hundred, I think, of what they would call CEOs. Now, here's what was really, I thought, there's so many things that we took away over that really intense 4 days. And it was fun. They did a first-class job, which is really great. But we were amongst business and business owners who were doing 20, 30, 50, 150, $300 million in terms of revenue in their business and developing careers. And it was really spectacular in terms of the feedback. We did some amazing case studies on the business front. But within all of that, when we think, Steffany, is at the core of all of it, what did Patrick Bet-David keep hitting home? Which was you. It is the business of you. It is your development. It is really about the mindset aspect of it. He spent hours on stage. It was really his show. By the way, one of those rare occasions where you go to one of these events and it didn't turn out to be a pitch fest. They absolutely sold nothing. It was really quite remarkable. And the value that they brought was incredible. So I digress. So I think I might have interrupted you in the thought process, but it was really the environment that we were in was absolutely top end, first class. It was really a great experience.
Well, not that you interrupted me, but you just carried on the thought process is that where you step in your personal development journey is very quote unquote personal. And we think
Mhm.
about the work that we do in Shift and what I think we've continued to circle around and bring it back over and over and over again on repeat is truly who you're being in your life in all 7 areas. And that's what really landed for me is that we've been doing this work for years, whether it started with Mike and Andrea Reynolds or Dr. John DeMartini. Like we have to be of the awareness that we're standing on the shoulders of giants and that people
Mhm.
can stand on our shoulders when they do this work. We're not coaching or coaxing you to do or be anything that you don't want to be. I think the great thing about Shift is such a subtle shift in mindset around who you're being in all areas of your life. So Patrick Bet David called it the personal identity work. And I think
Mhm.
that's what I loved in alignment with our work. And it just felt so good to have that kind of reinforcement that we are really on the right track. This conversation is so important going forward. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 5 years on the
Mhm.
planet with everything that's going on, financial, with the economy, with the world, in a sense, kind of blowing up potentially again. So if you don't know who you are and what you're doing, it's very difficult to make decisions in the direction that you say you want to go. So for me, it was a reinforcement. It was encouraging. It was to the point where I am so fired up about Shift and so excited. I mean, we start like on what, September 21st, I think is our first date.
Yep.
And
Yep.
super excited about that because all the things that we learned over the last 30 years is now being created in a way that it can be digested and personalized and internalized individually. And that's what I was so interesting about Shift is that even though it's group coaching, just like the 3,000 people at the vault, it's individual.
Mhm.
You're having your own experience.
100%.